Hi everyone, welcome back to the Stitches and Scribbles channel. My name is Erin and I've got another Faire vlog for you today. So I am going to the Bristol Renaissance Fair with some friends on August 10th, which is during their RenCon weekend. So it's kind of a weekend to celebrate costumes inspired by characters, kind of like a blend between a Renaissance fair and a comic convention type event. So since some of my friends decided to dress up as characters from things that they enjoy, I decided to pick one as well to base my costume off of. Although I'm pretty sure that unless people, well, this goes for any character, but unless people have read the book, it's probably not going to be recognizable. Especially since this character hasn't been in any sort of a film setting yet, so there's no visual for this character other than what's shown in the book. And even that's just like a cover illustration. But I decided to base my costume for this Renaissance Fair off of Tress from the book Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. I really enjoyed this book when I picked it up for the first time last year, and I'm actually currently rereading it as an audiobook and enjoying that version of it very much as well. So I decided it was only fitting to base my costume off of her. This is a costume that I actually meant to do last year just for fun, not even specifically for RenCon, and didn't have time to do it. So I'm really glad that I get to bring it back for this year. A lot of the costume pieces I already have as part of my base costume. Tress on the inner cover illustration, which I'll try to remember to show at some point in this video, wears a beige, like very typical Faire base layer dress with like kind of puffy sleeves and a smocked top. And I have a dress already in my costume stuff that looks very much like the one on the cover. But all of the other details are things that I'm adding based off of just my personal preference of how I like my costumes to fit, and also some little details from the book. So the first thing that I want to add is some sort of a vest layer. I like having things that function like a corset or stays in a costume without actually wearing a corset or stays. And I decided to include one for this costume as well, even though it's not something shown in the illustration. I just thought it would be a fun addition. I decided to, I'm looking at the pattern on my computer behind the camera, I decided to use the Flower Forager Underbust Crochet pattern by Earth Tricks. I purchased it on Etsy. And even though the original pattern design is multicolored because it kind of looks like a sunflower, I'm doing mine solid in the Lion brand yarns from their Sustainable Stitching Re-Up line, the Recycled Cotton Polyester Blend. And this is in the color Surf Spray, so it's a very pale sagey green. There's a lot of green elements in the book overall, so I thought adding a touch of green to the costume itself would be a good addition. The reason why I picked this pattern specifically is since the back is designed to look like a sunflower, I thought the shaping would kind of mimic another key feature in the book, which is that all of the oceans on Tress's planet are actually made of spores, and they're shown kind of as little fuzzy balls, or like kind of like mold spores, right? So I thought the shape of the sunflower with all of its little petals sticking out would kind of mimic the shape of the spores, even if I'm the only one who knows that that's what the reference is. So I'm going to go ahead and start making this design. It only goes up to an XL in the pattern, so I might just go up a hook size to give myself a little bit more room, since I typically wear a 2X, but since it's also one that laces up in the front and has a little bit of a gap naturally, if the gap just happens to be a little bit wider, I think that that will work fine for this type of a garment. I do have some other projects planned for this week that I'd like to finish. However, we are rapidly approaching back to school, so I'm going to have to kind of see how far I get in the costume pieces as I go this week. And just like with my pirate costume, I'll just keep adding things until I run out of time or run out of ideas. But let's go ahead and get started with this vest first. I do have two cones of this yarn. I'm going to be starting with the one that I already ripped the label off of. Again, because I did sort of think about doing this last year and ended up frogging what I started. But it's a good time to start fresh. Alright, I have finished the corset top. It looks more like, almost like a belt and suspenders from the front, which was the pattern design. But then the back is this sunflower granny square pattern. So, a couple alterations I made. It's really easy with this pattern to add extra rows in places or extra stitches to increase the width pretty much everywhere because it's really just rectangles. I ended up adding a couple of extra rows to the granny square panel and then a couple of extra stitches to the like waistband part. It's really easy to figure out the increments to add stitches in because you can kind of count up from the differences between sizes in order to add more stitches. I did then also have to lengthen the straps a little bit just to give it the correct overall fit, but I'm really happy with how it turned out and I'm excited to wear it. My next DIY for this project, and I think it's the only remaining big one, I think all the other stuff is going to be pretty quick to throw together, but Tress in the book has a rat that follows her around that she talks to, and his name is Huck. If you've read the story, you know why Huck is a very important character. But I'm going to make an amigurumi rat to add to my costume. So I'm using the Basic Stitch Anti-Pilling in the color Silver Heather, so a nice light gray, and I have some pale pink in my scraps, as well as some black that I can use for any details. I'm going to be following a tutorial from the Complicated Knots channel on YouTube, and the title of the video is How to Crochet a Rat with a Strawberry. I'm not going to do the strawberry part, I'm just going to do the rat, but I liked her style that was cute, but still more on the realistic side than the like truly cartoony side. So the tutorial's like 23 minutes. I'm guessing that this is going to be like maybe a 2-hour project, so I'm hoping I can finish today. Oh yeah, before I dive in, the corset top I think in total took between 6 and 7 hours, so it's a totally doable weekend project. I could have gotten it done in one day if I had wanted to. I just had to split things up because of other projects I was working on. But we're going to dive into crocheting Huck the Rat. have a finished little rat. He did take just about 2 hours, but I also had to like get up and go find my safety eyes and stuff like that. So 2 hours was probably a good estimate for how long he took. I think he turned out cute. So the idea is that I'll use a safety pin to pin him to my shoulder while I'm walking around. If pinning him to the straps of the corset doesn't work, then I might have him kind of more laying down and just pin him by his paws. But either way, he's all done. I think I'm going to pick this project, by project I mean this costume, back up on a different day because I have to leave to go do some other stuff. But I might be able to squeeze in a few more small DIYs the day before the fair. Alright, it is the day before the fair and I have a couple of last minute DIYs and just some costume pieces to show you. But first I wanted to show you the actual book because I haven't done that yet. I used the cover image as inspiration just for like kind of the color scheme, I guess, although I went with more of a sagey green than the deep green that's on the cover. But what I really used for inspiration was this image right here. So she is wearing a pretty simple cream colored dress with a brown belt. She has her cup. She also has a little headband. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to work that in because it's very gold and metallic. She also has brown boots, which I'm not going to buy a pair of boots just for this one costume. I do have black ones, but I think it's going to look a little funny because I was trying to not do any black with this costume. So I'm going to be wearing some beige like flats that I have. They're Toms. But the dress was really what led me to choosing this costume, even though I'm making a couple of adjustments. So I do have the aforementioned brown belt. Mine is just a tie version, which is going to come in handy for a couple of the little projects I'm doing today. And then I have this dress that I purchased on Amazon, I think a couple years ago at this point. It's the same one that like everyone was purchasing for a while as a Ren Fair costume. But it's a little bit past knee length. It's got the puffy sleeves and the shirred top, just like the one in the picture. It does have this polka dot pattern, which doesn't show up super well in pictures and things like that, so I'm not too worried about that distracting from things. Moving on to some DIYs, I guess, but mostly just other stuff that I have. I grabbed this ribbon for this costume for some reason a while ago, but I don't think I'm actually going to end up using it for anything, but it is very pretty. I am going to have this teacup hanging from my belt. In the story, Tress collects cups, and she specifically mentions that her favorite one to use is a metal one because it doesn't break when she's using it. So a lot of the times that she is on her travels, she mentions using her metal cup. She also has a porcelain teacup, which is why I went with this design. I got it from Goodwill for all of $3. But I felt that it kind of combined the designs of the two cups she talks about the most often. So that was why I chose this one for the costume. Tress also ends up handling green spores from the Emerald Sea. I don't know if I mentioned this yet already, but in this story, the oceans on Tress's planet are not made of water, they're made of spores, and each ocean is a different color, and the spores of different colors do different things. So the green spores from the sea that her island is on grow kind of plants and vines and things. So I got these green sparkly beads to kind of represent the green spores, and I was going to put them in this bottle. Like I said before, I'm going to try to avoid black in this costume. So since this little harness thingy comes off, I think I'm going to try to crochet something similar to like a crochet pattern for a plant hanger to put on the bottle and put all these beads inside. And then I'm also working on a little belt pouch that I started this morning just to hold my phone and my wallet and stuff like that. So last couple DIYs are getting this bottle ready and getting the little bag done, and I think that's going to be it until it's time to get ready for the fair. Alright, sorry for the lack of footage and photos. I did go in with the best of intentions to take lots of clips, but I was having so much fun with friends, walking around, seeing stuff. I did archery at the Ren Fair for the first time in a while. We saw some shows. We were just having a good time, but it was a shorter Ren Fair trip because one of our party members was not feeling super well, so we ended up cutting it a little bit short, in addition to being very busy while we were there. So I got the one photo and the one video clip for you, but I figured that that was enough to see the costume anyway. If you want more footage of my Ren Fair adventures, I have other vlogs similar to this on my channel, and I highly suggest if you're in the area to check out the Bristol Renaissance Fair yourself because it's a lot of fun. That's going to be it for this vlog. Thank you so much for watching. I had so much fun dressing up as Tress for this Renaissance Fair excursion. Definitely a highlight of my Ren Fair costume career so far, and I'm really excited to come up with some new things for next year. Thanks again for watching. If you want to follow me here on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below and check the description box below this video for my other social media information, and I will see you in the next one. Bye everyone!